So the federal government is halting funds to Medicaid in Minnesota, halting over $250 million worth. And they announced this yesterday, the day after Trump's State of the Union, where he said they wouldn't ever do something like that. Well, it seems like they always ever, like never before. They're saying they're doing this to ensure that the state of Minnesota takes its obligation seriously to be good stewards of the American taxpayers' money and because of fraud. Did you know that when it comes to Medicaid fraud, Minnesota has one of the lowest rates, lower than the national average? And did you know that Minnesota is a donor state, which means its residents and businesses pay more in federal taxes than they receive in federal funding every year? To put that into like a numerical perspective, in 2023, the federal government collected about $119 billion in revenue from Minnesota, while returning roughly $75 billion, which is a difference of $44 billion. That is $7,600 per person. What we in Minnesota pay in federal taxes supplements for the states that don't pay more than they receive, the getter states. All this to say, they are halting and weaponizing Medicaid funding and stealing our fucking money. But let's say, for the sake of the argument, that it is about fraud. We already said that Minnesota has one of the lowest rates of Medicaid fraud, but states like Texas, California, New York, Delaware, their rates are much higher. Why are funds not halted there? Not that I believe they should be, but why? And if it is about fraud, then that means that the federal government's solution for fraud is to cut off medical funding for people who are in low-income families, children, the elderly, people with disabilities, working individuals. Medicaid isn't a fucking political pawn piece, okay? Medicaid is chemotherapy, insulin, oxygen, chronic condition treatment, neonatal care, nursing homes. For some, Medicaid is survival. So the federal government's solution to fraud is to punish the most vulnerable and the most dependent. That's not justice. That's cruelty. And again, if cutting off federal medical funding is about fraud, then why the fuck is their Lord and Savior Trump sending a hospital ship to Greenland saying that they are not receiving proper medical care? We are not receiving proper medical care in this country. And again, if cutting medical funding is about fraud, then let's talk some more about fraud. Trump transferring $10 billion of American taxpayer money to his Board of Peace. Trump suing the IRS for $10 billion, saying that his tax records shouldn't be disclosed, like he's special. Trump and his administration sending $20 billion to Argentina to prioritize political allyship. And do not forget the billions of dollars sent to AIPAC and Israel because America is their little bitch. This halt of Medicaid funding is nothing more than a retaliation tactic, and it is going to kill a lot of people. I cannot even tell you how closely this affects people I love and care about, but I can sure as fuck tell you that when it does, you will hear my fucking voice. And if they're going to keep terrorizing us in our fucking streets, then why the hell are we paying them and funding them? So if you think people in Minnesota will be paying their federal taxes, good luck. We're sick of the bullshit.